Hello, TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. If you are just now finding the channel, welcome. I hope you find this video informative and entertaining. If you are a returning viewer, I hope you enjoy it as well, and thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it. My boy Loki here, he really appreciates it as well, and I hope you enjoy this video because we're talking about not really a new deck, but we're bringing some older cards back with a little bit of a twist, and I'm going to show you how this deck works. Additionally, at the end, I'm going to give you some potential replacement cards. If maybe you don't have some of these, there are some other cards that I was using before I finally settled on the list that you see here. Now, if you can see, I'm calling this deck Wave Move. So the idea here is to take advantage of some of these strong move cards early, things like Vulture, using Iron Fist to his fullest ability, getting Spider-Man down. We've even got Jeff to move Ghost Spider as well. The idea here is take those early game cards, get some power down, and then slow the game down. And we're going to do that thanks to Wave, Odin, Dr. Doom, Aero, things like that. There are a ton of cool plays that you can make with this deck, and I've had a ton of fun playing it. So I'm going to show you that. You see the gameplay here, but I'm going to talk about each card, and then we will move on to, walking you through a game or two. So, looking at this list to start off, we've got two 1-drops. We've got Nebula and Iron Fist. Now, Nebula is great. I think she's one of the better 1-drops in the game. It forces your opponent to commit to that lane. Otherwise, she can kind of run away with it on her own. Our other one is Iron Fist. Now, he's part of our small move package that we got here. Iron Fist, Ghost Spider, Vulture, Spider-Man, and you could even throw Jeff in there because he can move as well. So Iron Fist is going to help you enable cards like Vulture and really kind of provide a little bit of a surprise factor as well. So I'll show you some of these play lines, I'll talk about them, but Iron Fist is great in this deck. Next up, we've got 4 2-drops. We've got Goose, Medusa, Ghost Spider, and Jeff. We talked about Ghost Spider and Jeff a little bit as kind of this move package that we want to get down early. I love Goose because of Goose's ability to kind of stop your opponent from playing on a certain lane. We can take advantage of Goose's ability and still get powerful cards there. We can still get things like Aero there. We could even get Odin there if we really wanted to. But we can get enough power thanks to Medusa and Vulture in that lane that 9 times out of 10, if we get Goose down, we are going to win that lane. Medusa is kind of an odd inclusion, but a 2/5 just by playing her in the middle is huge. Additionally, you don't feel bad about moving Medusa potentially to that Goose lane because 5 power is a lot for them to overcome. So really like Medusa as well. We talked about Ghost Spider and Jeff a little bit, and next up are our 3-drops, Vulture and Wave. Obviously, Vulture we're using for Vulture's power. So each time it moves, you can get, your +5, so that's up to 8, 13, depending on how often we move it. And we can move it with Iron Fist and Ghost Spider. And while we're doing that, we're also discounting our Spider-Man coming up here as well. So Vulture is great for getting some of that power down onto potentially your Goose lane, or just an 8 power for 3 is huge. Next up is Wave. Now, as I said kind of in the intro here, Wave is here to slow the game down. So we want to get ahead, and then potentially turn 4, turn 5, we want to play Wave because ideally we are ahead, and that'll make it really tough for our opponent to catch up and actually win the game. We talked about Spider-Man, but he's coming down as a 1/5 most of the time, and that's a lot of power. Again, that'll fit under Goose, so you're winning that lane. Next up, we've got Aero. Yes, she is making a return, and I think she's amazing in this deck thanks to Wave, thanks to Odin. Aero can really just kind of go off and win you games. Additionally, it's kind of fun to have Iron Fist set up. You Aero a card into a different lane, and then Iron Fist is going to shoot Aero into one of these other lanes, potentially that Goose lane, where you, again, get 8 power down. You're going to win that lane. Finally, we've got 2 6-drops. We've got Dr. Doom. I still think Dr. Doom is an extremely strong card, especially if you're slowing down the game and trying to get power to multiple locations. So Dr. Doom is great, and Odin is there in case you want a second Dr. Doom, you want a second Aero, you want to proc Wave again so that your opponent can only play 1 card on turn 6, making it near impossible for them to catch up. So those are the cards That's why they're in here. And now I'll walk you through a couple games. As you can see, once we get Nebula down early, our opponent is then forced to either commit to that lane or try and deal with Nebula in a different way. I love Jeff. I honestly think Jeff is one of the best cards in the game because of his ability to reach those locations. Now, granted, we have a little bit more reach in those locations thanks to things like Dr. Doom and Iron Fist, so we can make great use of that, but Jeff is awesome. We get Jeff down on 2, and we feel like we're in a really, really good spot. As you can see here, Project Pegasus, comes up, and we're dropping Medusa into the middle lane. Now, we aren't afraid to move Medusa as well to get more power down like Ghost Spider. Medusa's going to be 5, but now we're going to be able to pull her over into Project Pegasus, leaving the vault entirely. Our opponent committed 2 cards there, and all of a sudden, we aren't even contesting it. So that looks really, really good for us. In this game, they do get Iron Man and Zabu down early, so we are a little bit worried, but we still feel like we are in a good spot. And what's nice here is we have wave ready to go. So we feel fine waving on, in this instance, on 4. So everything's going to cost 4 going into turn 5 here. That's great. We've got Odin ready to go. As long as we maintain that advantage, which we get a little bit worried here. They do copy their Iron Man with Mystique, which is awesome for them. They've got a really nice lane coming through here in that dream dimension, but we're going to slow them down even more. We're going to Odin right on top of that wave again, making sure that they can only play 1 more card. Now, they thought we were coming for the vault, and we have no intention of doing that. We're slowing it down even further. They're only going to be able to play 1 card, and we still get our 8 power Odin down in that dream dimension. So as you can see, we're ahead 16-4. We're down 20-0, but we're up 11-0 as well. In this instance, we're only able to drop Spider-Man down, and we just got to hope our opponent doesn't have anything strong enough on that Angela lane. Obviously, that's where they're going to go, but they are leaving a lot on the board. You can see their hand, their list. It potentially looks like maybe a negative, maybe a Darkhawk list, but as you can see, we outpowered it still, 21-20, and we take a nice victory right there. Now again, we pick up Nebula early, which is great. Nebula is 1 card that I contemplated in this list. Maybe we wanted to go with something more move related, and I'll talk about those at the end when we go through the deck one more time and I talk about potential replacement cards. In this instance, we get Nebula down and Sakaar pulls Iron Fist. Not great, but not terrible either. So we're going into turn 2 here, and we've got Medusa or Jeff. We don't really want to fill Sakaar, so we decide to simply play Jeff and let Iron Fist move Jeff over into Stark Tower. So we want Jeff to be able to build up some of that power and then move him on turn 6, going into turn 6 if we need to. So Jeff's in the middle, and we're free to kind of just drop our Medusa there as well. Now, they're definitely playing some sort of a move, and they've even got Shang-Chi in there to counter some things. Now, most of our cards aren't going to be above that 9 power threshold, 9 and up, so we're fine. We're not too worried about Shang-Chi. We've only got Miles Morales Spider-Man to play here, but that's okay. With a movement deck, chances are they're going to want to move some of these cards one more time with a Heimdall or something like that. So we're fine just getting Spider-Man down, knowing that they're probably going to end up sliding cards to the left. And here is where Goose comes in really, really handy. We know that they want to get into Stark Tower to take advantage of that location. They've got their own Medusa down, and that's fine because we played Goose. Now, if they want to play Heimdall, they've only got 2 options. They can either put it in Sakaar, or they can put it in Stark Tower. And here is where we feel really, really good. We know that we pretty much have the Dream Dimension locked up right now. So now it's just a matter of making sure we've got enough power elsewhere. We decide to drop Dr. Doom into the middle. If they play Heimdall in the middle, everything is sliding left. If they play it in Sakaar, then they would send their Vulture and Spider-Man over. So as you can see, they did play into Stark Tower, and they actually moved Medusa as well. and we're just going to outpower them in the middle and on that far right lane. We really limited our opponent's options by the way we set up. By putting Goose in that far right lane, we knew that they couldn't contest us there, so we are free to kind of toss it into the middle, knowing that the chances are they were just going to play that Heimdall, move everything to the left, and we'll pick up that middle lane like we did. In this game, again, we hit Nebula early, which is great. It forces our opponent to commit, so we feel really good about that. We're going to go ahead and toss Nebula into that Titan lane, in part because if it's a move deck, we want to force them to commit there early, and if it's not, then hey, that's fine. Nebula still feels really good there. Here, we've got Medusa ready to come down on 2. Again, Medusa goes up to 5 power. A 2/5 is really, really strong. We see Wolverine, so instantly we're a little bit worried that it could be maybe a Galactus style, something like that. For now, we want to get Jeff down in Atlantis as kind of a little bit of protection from Medusa. Yes, it's only turn 3, but now we know our Medusa is safe in case we want to end up sliding Jeff somewhere else. Wolverine does get tossed over into the bar with no name, which is great for us. So we feel really, really good about that. And right now we're preloading Iron Fist. And we're going to set this up so that we can Iron Fist right into Aero. And we're going to use that Aero to pull them over into the bar with no name. Excuse me, into the bar with no name, again, going into turn 5. Typically, they're going to have a fairly big card come down here. So we should be able to pull them into the bar. Aero will then slide over into Atlantis, and we are again in a really, really nice spot. I love Iron Fist and the way that we can preload him, set up our Aero, pull everything into, or at least pull their last card into the bar with no name, and then Aero slides over. So we feel really good about where we are with this right now. So Aero comes through. We do end up pulling a card over into the bar with no name, and then Aero slides into that middle. We've got Miles Morales ready to go. Killmonger came down, destroying our Nebula, so that hurts a little bit. Their Deathlock ended up hitting Wolverine and tossing Wolverine all the way over into Titan. So Titan's going to be really, really tough for us to contest, so they're probably going to play a big card into Atlantis. We know that we've probably won bar with no name, so we need to make sure we have as much power as possible in Atlantis. And we do that by getting Dr. Doom down, moving Jeff, and then putting Spider-Man into that middle lane as well. We're able to add 10 there. 10, well, 8, because we're just replacing Jeff with Spider-Man and then getting Dr. Doom down. They follow through with their null, which had 16 power plus 5 up to 21. Not enough, and we win it. All right, so here's the list that we settled on. Now, like I said, this wasn't the one I originally started with. We definitely were tweaking this until we found a nice kind of happy medium, but there are a couple ways that you can go with this list. If you want to lean a little bit more into the movement aspect, you can pull out Nebula. That's fine. Additionally, I would consider pulling out Vulture. Now, Vulture is a huge source of power, but because some of these are cheaper, we can fit more into a turn on turn 5 if we want to slow down on turn 6, or slow down their turn 6 with Wave. So we could take out Vulture, and we would add Nightcrawler and Human Torch. Now, I like this because Nightcrawler then gives us another way to get out Spider-Man early. Human Torch, that, doubling up his power is great, and we can use Iron Fist to do that. We can use Ghost Spider to do that. So Human Torch can be enough power. The only thing I worry about is that Human Torch is a 1-drop, so sometimes Human Torch can just be hit by that Killmonger, and then we lose a huge source of that power, which is why we ended up having Vulture in our main list. Now, we did have a couple other cards that we liked in this list, one of them actually being Storm here. Now, Storm is great because she's got synergy with Dr. Doom here. We can still reach that location. We can still reach it with Iron Fist, and we could even, we can get other cards into that Storm lane if we can get ahead. And we can get enough power there if we Storm on 3. On 4, we could make a play Iron Fist into, if we had Human Torch, we could do that. Or we could go Iron Fist right into Vulture to get into that Storm lane. So we got tons of ways to still get that power into that Storm lane. Now, originally, I did not have Odin in this list. I was running She-Hulk because She-Hulk, if you don't spend that energy, she can fit into that Goose lane as well. So I really like She-Hulk, but ultimately the potential that Odin brings by giving you a second copy of Aero, a second copy of Wave, really slowing down the game, or even giving you another copy of Dr. Doom is too great to pass up. So I think Odin fits very well into this list. Overall, I think this list is super strong. I'll go back to the one that I was running, which we did not have Nightcrawler. We did have Nebula instead. But like I said, I can totally see a case being made for having Nightcrawler instead of Nebula, simply because of that ability to move again as well, and reducing the cost of Spider-Man. But I like Nebula, which is why I put her in that list. So this is the list that I ended up running. I ended up having the most success with right here. I think it's really strong, and being able to wave on 4, wave on 5, and then Dr. Doom or potentially Aero, whatever they're bringing out, is just too good to pass up. This deck really slows them down, and if we can get enough power with our other cards, thanks to things like Medusa and Vulture, we're in a good spot. Additionally, there's another 3-drop that I really like that fits in with the move package a bit, and that's Polaris. She's going to move one of those 1 or 2 costs, again reducing the cost of Spider-Man for us, and we can play Polaris onto that Goose lane as well. So I like Polaris. As of right now, I did not have her in the list simply because I think Vulture just provides a bit more upside. Like I said though, this is a really fun list to play. It looks a bit weird, but if you can get ahead thanks to things like Medusa, Vulture, Iron Fist, moving Jeff around, you can really control how the game goes. If you want to slow it down, you can. If you need to get a bit more power out, you can do that. You can Aero on 5 and still come through with a Ghost Spider into a Iron Fist into a Vulture on 6, and that's just huge. You move that 8 power somewhere else that your opponent isn't expecting it to be. So again, a super fun list. We're kind of combining move with some wave aspects, but really strong. So definitely give this one a shot if you have these cards, and let me know how it goes. And if you've hung around till now would be a really good time to go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button as well, as it really does help me out. And be on the lookout for more Marvel Snap content, as I'm trying to have it come every single day. But until the next one, have some fun.